Joining me now, co-author of the book Trumponomics, economic advisor to Trump 2016 campaign and economic expert from Washington, D.C., Steve Moore. Steve, can you explain to me, please, these governors, these blue state governors, red state governors, whatever it is, the blue state governors and the blue state mayors that are squealing right now for bailouts? They shut down, they crush their own economies, and they claim federalism. And then when it's time to reopen, they have their hand out to the federal government, you and me. Can you explain this one to me?
Well, this has been something that's been in the making for a long time, right? Because the blue states have much worse fiscal situations than red states do, because blue states, Democrats like to spend money. And we know they've had massive pension deficits. We know that they spend way more money than red states. Let me give you an example, by the way. I just ran these numbers. So let's take two blue states. Let's take New York and California. They spend, if you look at their local and state spending per capita of government, they spend twice as much, California and New York, as a state like Tennessee does. And yet Tennessee has better public services than California and New York. So the question is, why should people in Tennessee have to pay federal taxes to bail out New York and California? No, that ain't going to happen. Republicans should stand very firm against a bailout of blue states. It is not fair to the states that have acted fiscally irresponsible. It is contrary to federalism. You're exactly right. And I got to tell you, I spoke to the House Republicans last week, and they are dead set against this bailout. Look, every private industry, with few exceptions, has faced big cutbacks in their employment and in their activity. You know what? The one sector of the economy that has not been cut?
Government.
Yep. So maybe these mayors should start. What mayor was that, by the way, that you just played?
That was the mayor of the second largest city in America. His name is Eric Garcetti. He's right up there at the top of the radical list. But I have a question for you, because I know you talked to the White House, Steve. Number one, is there concern about spending trillions and trillions of dollars that we do not have for a, quote, bailout that we know historically will not work in terms of a, quote, stimulus? I'm not talking about helping out workers. I'm not talking about SBA loans. I'm talking about a, quote, stimulus that will not work, number one. And number two, is there concern that the recovery, whatever it looks like, is not going to be a V, that it's going to be more lethargic than that?
Lethargic and an L, right? An L-shaped recovery. That's what we had under Obama. And you're right. How did Obama deal with the recession and recovery? They had massive $1 trillion spending. By the way, we're now spending $2 trillion. We should have learned the lesson from Obama that didn't work very well. Remember, we had the weakest recovery from a recession since the Great Depression. So you're right. Government spending does not stimulate the economy. We cannot bail out blue states because it's unfair to the red states. And by the way, as you said, all the blue states are shutting down their economy for months and months, and then they want to run to the red states to say, give us money. Right. How absurd is that? And finally, there is a solution that Art Laffer and Steve Forbes and I have taken to the White House. The two of them had a great piece in the Wall Street Journal today that says suspend the payroll tax for the rest of the year for every business in America and every worker. Put 7.5% more in the paychecks of every worker, reduce the payroll costs of every company by 7.5%. You'll see a big boom in employment if you do that. And it's much better than giving money to, by the way, I just saw a poll that showed that 2 out of 3 Americans favor a payroll tax cut over bailing out the states that have spent too much money.
Right. I mean, it's common sense, right? And how dare you, Steve, speak common sense? You sound a lot like Art Laffer, who's on this program once in a while, and why not, since you co-authored the Trumponomics book with the great Reagan era economist of Art Laffer. Steve, thank you for your wisdom and your common sense. We'll check in with you a little bit down the road. Thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.